Hello.
Yes.
Hello, everybody.
Yes.
Yes, fine.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I am telling that since we will consider marginal utility of x2 is positive and marginal productivity of any factor is positive, in that case, the most two important economic exercises we will discuss in context of constraint optimization will give us strict convex level curves, strict concave underlying utility or production function, as well as strictly quasi-concave function too. Is it now clear? Because F2 we will consider to be greater than 0, and if this condition holds, all three conditions, the condition regarding level curve, the quasi-concavity condition, as well as strict convex condition, concave condition, all these three will hold. However, in reality, if a function is strictly concave, that will be definitely strictly quasi-concave, but strictly quasi-concave function may not indicate strict concave function because F2 in general can be positive or negative. If it is positive, it is also strictly concave. But if it is not positive, in that case, it is not strictly concave. That's the thing I wanted to share with you. But you know, the economic applications will come later, and we can discuss about the economic applications later too. Any question?
Ma'am, I had a question about the level curves. Ma'am, so we are just like in utility theory. So basically, we are trying to prove that the derivative of that slope term will be negative, and hence we assume that f2 is greater than 0 in this case because that marginal utility notion, and the remaining part has to be lesser than 0.
If you consider the
So
economic
that is the
application, you know,
If we,
but in general, if you consider the case, you are starting with any level curve which is strictly convex. These conditions will hold for any strictly convex level curve, be it indifference curve, isoquant, whatever, you know. So these conditions will hold, no problem.
yeah,
Okay, so all these
great,
conditions
great,
will hold.
great.
Any other question? Or
ম্যাম
I'm proceeding ahead?
লেভেল কার্ভ
Hmm.
লেভেল কার্ভ আর এমনি কার্ভের মধ্যে মেন পার্থক্যটা ম্যাম বুঝতে পারিনি।
তোমাদের এটা কিন্তু ফার্স্ট সেমে হয়েছে, বই থেকে পড়ো, নেক্সট ডে আবার যদি বুঝতে না পারো তাহলে আমার কাছে জিজ্ঞেস করবে বা মেল পাঠাবে। Go through the things, level curve, definition কি, so all these things you did in first sem, তাই না? একটু পড়ো, দেখো what is the meaning of level curve. Any function which is strictly concave is also strictly quasi-concave and is presented by a strictly convex to the origin level curves. So this is the finally statement, and I'm telling utility functions, production functions, these are the examples. However, we will discuss thoroughly about the utility function, production function, etc. when we will start our economic applications. So first I'm trying to understand what are the, or what can be the possible definitions of concavity, convexity, etc. in our analysis. So we got 3 definitions of concavity and 1 definition of quasi-concavity. Next, I'm going for convex function. So first, the graphical analysis. I hope you are understanding the matter. It will be the reverse of strict concavity. So here, the straight line stretch, that is lambda x prime plus 1 minus lambda x double prime, that will be above the line. So if I consider x bar and the corresponding f bar, this f bar will be greater than f of x bar. Okay. However, if this curve is a straight line, in that case, f of x bar will be equal to f bar. And if it is a straight line, in that case, we are allowing weak convexity. Okay. So, you know, so if these conditions hold, we will call the curve strict convex curve. And, you know, sorry, if this condition hold, we will call the curve convex curve. And if strict inequality holds, we will call the curve strict convex curve. So this is a strict convex curve. And if these fx becomes linear, then equality condition will hold. And naturally, that curve will be weak convex curve. Second definition is again based on Hessian determinant. And here, all principal minors, f11, f22, etc. Then these second order conditions, then these third order, everything will be positive. So principal minors, if principal minors of Hessian determinants are all positive, in that case, the underlying function is a strict convex function. Finally, we are moving towards the condition which actually we get from the bordered Hessian determinant. Since I have not defined the bordered Hessian determinant, so just I am mentioning a function is said to be strictly convex if f11 f2 square minus f1 f2 f12 plus f22 f1 square, that is positive. And obviously here f2 is positive. F2 is positive, and along with this is positive. So if these two conditions hold, in that case, the function will be called strict convex. And if only the second condition holds, f11 f2 square minus f1 f2 f12 plus f22 f1 square greater than 0, then the underlying function will be called strictly quasi-convex. So again, strict quasi-convexity indicates, sorry, strict convexity indicates strict quasi-convexity, but not vice versa, because there will be a condition related to F2 as well. So please in your copy add that condition, F2 greater than 0, that I missed from this definition 3. So a function is said to be strictly convex if F2 greater than 0. Along with this expression should be greater than 0. If only the second expression holds, that is strictly quasi-convex. If both the conditions hold, that is F2 greater than 0 and this greater than 0, in that case, the function will be called strictly convex function. And naturally, we can argue strict convex function is also a strict quasi-convex function, but not vice versa. And the corresponding level curve will be a strictly concave to the origin level curve. This is also written. Only one point I missed, that is F2 greater than 0. For strict convexity, we need F2 greater than 0, and then this expression is greater than 0. There is a slope, absolute slope is becoming, you know, steeper and steeper if we move along the curve. Is it okay to all of you? So these are the three definitions of strict convexity or convexity. And we got a first definition of strict quasi-convexity too. So by this time, we know three definitions of concavity and convexity and single definition for quasi-concavity and quasi-convexity. I will add one more definition for quasi-concavity and quasi-convexity, which will be defined in terms of graphical analysis. So this is the definition. I called it definition 1 because definition 2 is basically covered while I discussed strict concavity and strict convexity. So this is definition 1. Definition 2 is already covered. So when we are considering quasi-concavity, it is quite similar to that of concavity, you know, but here we are considering minimum of f of x1 and f of x2. We are considering 2 points, x1 and x2 along the curve. Then we are considering the linear combination, lambda x1 plus 1 minus lambda x2. Then we are defining one f of it. So f of lambda x1 plus 1 minus lambda x2. So let's go back to the first graph of strict concavity. So we are considering, you know, f of this thing, f of lambda x prime plus 1 minus lambda x prime, f of lambda x prime plus 1 minus lambda x prime. Okay, but that we are relating either with f of x prime or f of x double prime, either with f of x prime or f of x double prime, not with f bar. We are not comparing f of x bar with f bar. Rather, it is a relationship between f of x bar and this f or this f. So f of x bar, f of lambda x1 plus 1 minus lambda x2, that is greater than if it is strict relation and greater than equal to if it is a weak relation, greater than minimum of f of x1, f of x2, minimum of one of the two. Similarly, for quasi-convexity, we are considering a similar kind of analysis. That is, we are considering f of x bar. Then f of x bar is compared with max of f of x1, f of x2. So it is not a bar, rather it is compared with any of the two, f of x1, f of x2, which is maximum. So this is the difference between graphical definition of quasi-concavity and concavity, and quasi-convexity and convexity. Here we are applying mean max kind of thing, and there we are defining one, a bar. So this is all about quasi-concavity, quasi-convexity, and remember second definition is already discussed when we considered the second condition, which is given, in terms of this kind of relation, f11 f2 square minus 2 f1 f2 f12 plus f22 f1 square. It is less than 0 in case of quasi-concavity, it is greater than 0 in case of quasi-convexity. So this is all about the possible definitions of concavity, convexity, quasi-concavity, quasi-convexity, etc. And remember this concept, I'm repeating it once again. If a function is strictly concave, then it is also strictly quasi-concave, but not vice versa. Similarly, if a function is strictly convex, in that case, it is also strictly quasi-convex, but not vice versa. Okay. Now the definition 2, the definition already I have discussed, can be presented in terms of bordered Hessian determinant 2. Definition 2, which I have defined in terms of f1, f22, etc., etc. That relationship can be presented in terms of bordered Hessian determinant. So we need to understand what is the meaning of bordered Hessian determinant. Okay, so I'll come back to this extension of definition 2 once again, but before that I need to clarify what is the meaning of bordered Hessian determinant. So we are considering f, any f, which is based on or defined on real number line Rn. Okay, so we are considering n-dimensional real space, and in n-dimensional real space we are defining the bordered Hessian determinant. Dekho, when we talked about n-dimensional Hessian determinant, we considered f11, f12 up to f1n, f21, f22, f2n, fn1, fn2, fnn. Now what is the meaning of this? I am starting with a function of x1, x2 to xn. I can take first derivative, which is f1. Then that first derivative can be, then for the first derivative, we can define the higher level derivative, that is the second order derivative, again in terms of x1, then in terms of x2, then in terms of xn, etc. So f11 is nothing but d square x1 divided by dx1 square. Then it is d square x1 by dx2 square. So it will go on like that. So first I am taking the first order derivative, all this f1, f2 to fn, and then again I am taking derivative of f1 with respect to first variable x1, then with respect to second variable x2, and then finally with respect to nth variable xn. Then again we are considering f2, and for this f2 I am taking the derivative with respect to x1, x2 to xn. Finally I am considering fn, and I am taking the derivative of this fn with respect to all n variables and getting fn1, fn2 up to fnn. So this was the structure of Hessian determinant. Now I am considering a border to it, where the first element is 0, and after that I am putting f1, f2 to fn, here row wise and here column wise. So I'm mentioning that the bordered Hessian is formed by taking the Hessian matrix and adding 0, F1, F2 to Fn as the first column and the first row. That is the first derivatives of the function preceded by 0. So if I get this kind of matrix, 0, F1, F2 to Fn, row-wise and column-wise are considered to be the border of Hessian determinant, and therefore it is called the bordered Hessian determinant. Now consider a simple case where we have, say, two variables, x1 and x2. We have two variables, x1 and x2. Do you have pen and paper with you?
Yes, ma'am.
সবার কাছে একটু পেন এন্ড পেপার আছে?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
একটু লেখো এখন. Let's consider f is equal to f of within bracket x1 comma x2. That is, I am considering a function of two variables. F is equal to f of x1 comma x2, function of two variables. So if you consider del f by del x1, write it to be equal to f1. And del f by del x2, that is equal to f2. Del f by del x1 is equal to f1. Del f by del x2 is equal to f2. Everybody could write del f by del x1 and del f by del x2, f1 and f2. Then del square. Then you take second derivative, possible second derivative of f1, f2. You will get f11, f22, f12, f21. So del square f by del x1 square. Del square f by. Please mute your microphone. Please mute your microphone. For the second order derivative, del square f by del x1 square, that is equivalent to f11. Del square f by del x2 square, that is f22. Those who are finding noise around, please mute your microphone. f12 is equal to del square f by del x1 del x2, and f21 is equal to del square x by del x2 by del x1. So I hope you are getting the derivatives. f1, f2, f11, f22, f12, f21. All these derivatives are with you. Now, if you get the derivatives like this, you can consider the first possible bordered Hessian determinant will be given by h1 bar, det h1 bar, which is 0, f1, f1, f11. Yeah, which is equal to minus f1 square. Okay. Next, you write down h2 bar, det h2 bar, and you are getting 0 f1 f2 0 f1 f2 f11 f12 f21 f22, and this is the maximum level you can go for if you have x1 and x2. You cannot move further. Now write down the determinant or the expression for this. First we are getting 0 into f11 f12 f21 f22. Then we are getting minus f1 into f1 f2 f12 f22. F1 f2, then f12 f22, and then plus f2 into
F1 F11 F2 F21.
and then again do the things.
F11 F2 square minus 2F1 F2 F12 plus F1 square F22.
So are you getting the relation which we stated for quasi concavity, quasi convexity? সবাই check করো তো। While you are solving for H2 bar, whether you are getting the relation which I mentioned in case of strict quasi concavity and strict quasi convexity.
ম্যাম রিলেশনটা তো আমি এটা এক্সপ্রেশনটা পেয়েছি, ওটা লেস দেন 0 না গ্রেটার দেন 0?
এক্সপ্রেশনটা বাস, আর কিছু না, এক্সপ্রেশনটা পাচ্ছ কিনা বলো। রিলেশনটা তো
সাইনটাকে কমন নিয়ে নেওয়ার পর আসছে।
হ্যাঁ
হ্যাঁ মানে ওই
মানে এই রিলেশনটা পাচ্ছ কিনা।
হ্যাঁ
মাইনাস অফ পাচ্ছ,
এটা নেগেটিভটা পাচ্ছি।
হ্যাঁ
এটা
মাইনাস অফ
নেগেটিভটা
পাচ্ছ,
পাচ্ছি।
নেগেটিভ সাইনটা কমন নেওয়া।
হ্যাঁ নেগেটিভটা পাচ্ছ। আচ্ছা বাকিরা পাচ্ছ, ঐশী পাচ্ছ, অভিষেক পাচ্ছ, আচ্ছা রেডমিটা তো দর্পক।
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম, ইয়েস ম্যাম,
সো প্লিজ মিউট ইওর মাইক্রোফোন।
ইয়েস ম্যাম,
প্রচন্ড নয়েজ হচ্ছে।
ওকে ম্যাম।
অভিষেক কারিটা বুঝতে পারছো? অর্ক, অত্রি করছো? আসছে তো নাকি আসছে না? করছো? অত্রি এত সময় লাগছে কেন? প্রত্যুষ আজকে দেরিতে ঢুকলে না?
না ম্যাম আমি ছিলাম, আমার অ্যাকচুয়ালি নেটটা ডিসকানেক্ট হয়ে গিয়েছিল,
হ্যাঁ।
তাই মিটিংটা লিভ করে আবার
ঢুকতে হলো। ওকে
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম।
আচ্ছা সম্ভব দুখানে
হ্যাঁ
কেন?
হয়েছে।
হ্যাঁ।
আরে ম্যাম আমার ওই কানেকশন প্রবলেম হচ্ছে বলে দুখানে দিয়ে কানেক্টেড হয়ে আছে।
কোনটা করে ফেলেছো? মাল্টিপল?
কোনটা দিয়ে ডিসকানেক্ট মানে কি, প্রথমে যখন ঢুকেছিলাম তখন ডিসকানেক্ট হয়ে গেছিল একটা ডিভাইসে, তো ওই জন্য দুটো দিয়ে করে রেখেছি, কখন ডিসকানেক্ট হচ্ছে।
শিবানী
Yes, miss.
হ্যাঁ হচ্ছে সবগুলো? রিলেশনটা পাওয়া যাচ্ছে?
Yes, miss.
অসুবিধা থাকলে বলবে। Srijoni? So এবার কি সবার শেষ হয়েছে? শাগনিক? ও একজন ঘুমিয়ে পড়েছে মনে হচ্ছে আমার। লক্ষ্যদীপ তুমি কিছু বলতে চাও? তো মাইক্রোফোনটা অন করলে।
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম, বলেছিলাম হয়ে গেছে ওটাই।
হয়ে গেছে? So you got the relation?
ইয়েস ম্যাম।
Yes, ma'am.
শেষ তো হতে সময় লাগবে। Okay. So actually the objective was to check, so using the bordered Hessian determinants for two variables, whether we are getting this kind of relation or not. So now, once we are getting this kind of relation, comfortably we will be able to place these final definitions for quasi-concavity, which is definition 2, and which is which is related to the relation you just solved. So look at these lines very carefully. Suppose that f is a function defined on real number line, and f has continuous first and second order partial derivatives. Let h bar represent the bordered Hessian of f. If I am starting with h2 bar, I am not writing h1 bar. With you, you have h1 bar too, but I am starting the definition from h2 bar. That is the second relation which is most important for quasi-concavity. If h2 bar, let h2 bar greater than 0, h3 bar less than 0, etc. for all x belong to the real number space, then f is quasi-concave. So if h2 bar positive, f is quasi-concave. Now look at the relation. So here also we are telling that bordered Hessian determinant alters in sign starting with negative. I'm not writing h1 bar because by default h1 bar, which is, what is the value of h1 bar? You derived it?
Minus f1 square.
Minus f1 square. By default it is negative. So by default it is negative. Okay. So, so here I think I have written h1 bar, which is minus f1 square, is always non-positive. Okay. So we are using the same definition of concavity. In case of concavity, in terms of the Hessian determinant, we used the same kind of relation. We said that if Hessian determinants alter in sign starting with negative, then an expression or a function is a function is concave. A function is strictly concave. I'm repeating. We considered the Hessian determinant, and we mentioned that if principal minors of the Hessian determinant alters in sign starting with negative, in that case, a function will be strictly concave. Here, the similar kind of definition we are using for quasi-concavity. Instead of h, here we are considering H bar, that is the bordered Hessian determinant. And we are considering the same thing. If H1 bar less than 0, H2 bar positive, H3 bar less than 0, H4 bar positive, etc. That is H bar alter in sign starting with negative, then F is quasi-concave. So instead of H, I am using H bar. That is the only difference. And that gives us quasi-concavity instead of concavity. In the similar fashion, if all these expressions are negative, in that case, we are getting F to be quasi-convex. We are getting F to be quasi-convex. Okay. So similar kind of definitions we are using for defining quasi-concavity and quasi-convexity, but everything is coming in terms of bordered Hessian determinant rather than Hessian determinant. This is the only difference between concavity, quasi-concavity, convexity, and quasi-convexity. And we are not mentioning here H1 bar because by default H1 bar is always, what is the value? Negative or positive?
Negative.
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 Minus
So we
square.
can,
Minus
yeah. So we can avoid H1 bar. We can state that by default H1 bar, which is 0, F1, F2, F11 is always negative. So this is all about quasi-concavity and quasi-convexity. First definition, second definition, go through the things properly, read again and again, and try to understand whether everything is perfect. So, you have to complete all these exercises. Here there are some examples, but complete the things on your own. Check that if there are two variables, generally or most emphasis will be on H2 bar, because H1 bar will give you always a default sign. So you will be not able to understand whether it is really quasi-concave or quasi-convex, etc. So the standard practice is to check quasi-concavity and quasi-convexity. We start with the second order. For X1 and X2, this is the highest order. If there is another X3, we will go for H3 bar 2. So we will consider H2 bar, H3 bar. Generally, we do not calculate H1 bar because that will give us a default sign. So complete all these exercises. Those who did it, fine. Those who didn't get time or didn't understand how to solve these things, I hope now you will be able to solve all these exercises. So with these ideas, we move to the idea of constraint extremum. I hope the definitions are fine, or if you now check the definitions, you will understand the matter. Along with the slides, you check the definitions from any book, Chiang, so you have Chiang with you, so you can check Chiang, Silberberg. Every book will give you the similar kind of definitions in different context. So next we are moving for constraint extremum, which is the